Okay, so hello and welcome to the Festival of Computing 2021. So this is a unique collaboration between the University of Plymouth and Computing at School. So this session is the STEM Ambassador session for primary teachers. So I'm Shauna, I'll be your host. I'm the Outreach Officer for the Faculty of Science and Engineering at the University of Plymouth. And I'm also joined today by Saeed Akbar, who is one of our student ambassadors. He'll be monitoring the chat and the session. So if you do have any questions that you wanted to ask throughout, just pop them in there and we can get that answered for you. Okay, so obviously I'm also joined today by Sam and Anthony. So Sam is from CSW and Anthony, I'm confused, is a STEM ambassador of sorts for the primary hubs within the Southwest, but he'll explain better than I can. So just in terms of housekeeping, if you could keep your microphones muted and your video off, just to allow our speakers to speak freely and not disrupt anybody else in the session, that would be perfect. But as I've mentioned, if you do have any questions, just pop them in the chat and we'll get to them. So yeah, I will let Sam take it away now.
Lovely, thank you, Shauna. Yes, hello everyone, lovely to be here today. So I'm just going to do a very brief overview of what the STEM Ambassador Programme is all about, how you can get in touch if you would like a STEM ambassador to visit the school, and then I'm going to hand over to Anthony, who is going to explain exactly what he does. He's one of my colleagues in the local computing hub, and yeah, he'll be sharing his offer with you and how they can help too. So, okay. It did work okay at the first session. Let me just share my screen. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, that's perfect, Sam.
Perfect. I'll just bring that one up. Okay. So, for those of you that may not have heard of the STEM Ambassador Programme, it's been around for a long, long time now, 20 plus years actually, and it is a national programme with funding that comes through government. And essentially what the programme is about is to help inspire young people around STEM subjects. So STEM ambassadors are all they're men and women who work in a STEM industry or used to. Some of them are retired. And yeah, they give up their time to talk to young people about what they do or what they did, because they want to give something back. And really what they're fantastic at is help bringing those subjects to life. So that practical application, and it allows students to be able to talk to listen to someone who's working in industry. Now, obviously from a primary school perspective, you'll see there on my slide, I've made those links to Gatsby benchmarks. That's particularly relevant for secondary schools, and I know primaries are different, but I think there are some links there to to careers programs and allowing young people from a younger age to just come across people from all walks of life. So in terms of where our STEM ambassadors come from, this is not, an exhaustive list, but it gives you an indication of some of the employers and the companies that we work with. Our hub is called the Southwest Peninsula Hub, and it covers just Devon and Cornwall. There are other hubs across the UK, and we all work in exactly the same way. So at the moment in our hub, we have over 1,000 STEM ambassadors on our books. And a lot of them come from these companies. So in terms of what STEM ambassadors can do, we really do try and encourage, particularly when working with primary school students, to be as practical and as interactive as possible. And obviously with the year we've all just experienced, this has been very, very challenging. The STEM Ambassador Programme has moved online, and we have had some of our STEM ambassadors who've been able to kind of zoom into the school, or deliver a virtual talk or a virtual activity that students can follow along with. But I'm hoping that, oh, hello, can you hear me? Sorry, I thought someone.
Yes, we
can. So yeah, I'm hoping obviously as schools reopen again, ambassadors will be able to get back into the classroom. But you can see there just some of the things they can do. Again, it's not an exhaustive list, but anything really that will help you to perhaps bring a particular curriculum topic to life. They can bring in bits of kit, activities, things that the young people can kind of get their hands on to. Yeah, just a few things really, just to highlight the benefits of using a STEM ambassador. I should say as well that the programme means that once they register to be a STEM ambassador, they do have to undergo some training and they have to have an enhanced DBS check done as well. And they won't go out to schools until they are approved. And it's free of charge because it's a funded programme, so there's actually no cost to the school in asking and using STEM ambassadors to support. So how would you get hold of a STEM ambassador? The best thing really is, well, there's two options. You either email us direct, and you can see our email there, ambassadors@cswgroup.co.uk, or you can request support through the website. So if you haven't yet registered, you need to go to stem.org.uk. And once registered, it really gives you access to a whole host of things that I think you would find helpful. Thousands and thousands of practical resources that you can download for free and use. You can access CPD. You can watch videos of STEM ambassadors doing their thing. And you can also request ambassador support. So it's just a case of adding a few details, giving us an idea of the kind of background you're looking for, whether it's linked to a particular date or event that you have in mind. And then once you publish that request, STEM ambassadors can respond direct to you. Of course, we're here to help. So if you've got a specific thing in mind or you just want to ask some questions first, then please do get in touch. And that's really all I wanted to say. So I will just stop sharing now and come back to the room. And yeah, I think we'll leave questions to the end, won't we? So I'm going to hand over now to Anthony, who is going to explain what they do and how he can help.
Thanks, Sam. Has that come up? Can we see that all right now?
Yes, you can see that.
Great, lovely. Okay, yeah, nice to be with you. So I'm Anthony Lees. I'm deputy head at Westcliff School, just above Exeter. And I work as part of West Country Computing Hub, which is a partnership between Exeter Maths School and ourselves as Cornerstone Academy Trust and Ufcombe School as well. And so I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about some of the NCC offer that we're doing at the moment, and also about some of the CAS work too, and some free lessons that I'm really excited about that we're going to be offering virtually, that I'm hoping schools might take up the offer of, because I think it's a really lovely project that I've done many times that I'd quite like to do on a big scale. So with that in mind, at the moment, if you haven't taken up any of the NCC computing offer at the moment, then obviously they're virtual courses guaranteed. And there are multiple short sessions, which I think perhaps suits people a little bit better. Even moving on through the rest of the spring and into summer term, they're going to be virtual and they're going to be spread out over several days like this. So you can see there's the Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2 kind of next things that are on offer. And I'll drop the link into the chat in a little while so that you can see that. But I think just knowing that that provision is still available and that it is now, if you were in the Computing Hub session earlier, you'll have seen it's very tailored around virtual and blended learning and around the move back to school as well. So hopefully that does fit and suit for people too as well. And what I'm really excited about is this one, because of all the hubs, we have got this pilot course available now for primary, which is fantastic because we're the only hub delivering it at the moment, which is really exciting. And you can see it's available starting 8th March, and it is those 1 hour sessions on those 5 days. but not based on Key Stage 1 leading or Key Stage 2, but leading primary computing across the whole phase and age range, which is a really exciting course. And as I say, it's lovely to be able to offer it. It is a £70 fee, but because of the bursary, which again, as we move back to school, obviously is more relevant for supply cover than ever, I guess, it's a really lovely course to be able to offer. And it's having seen the material and looked at it, I think it's very well timed. As well as that, I want to talk to you about some live lessons that we're offering. And this was developed a little while back under the idea of being in blended and virtual, where obviously lots of us were trapped at home. And I think as we move back into schools next week, hopefully to stay in school this time, this offer, I think, will still be really good because it means that you can attend it as your class. So what we put together is two very short projects. The first one is just a single unplugged lesson. So it'll be a Teams meeting or a Teams live event. And I'll give you the registration link and you can join that, and then you'll be able to attend that lesson either at 9:30 on the 24th of March or at 1:30 on the 31st of March. And if you register for any of these, then you'll get the link to the recording that you could watch whenever. So it's just the registration that really gives you kind of the recording. But if you wanted to attend it live and be part of the chat and, you know, the online presence for it, that would be really great fun. The second one is slightly more developed in that it's based on the UCL Scratch Maths project that's now about 6-7 years old, I guess. And this is a project that is using Scratch to deliver what is the maths objectives. Now, the first part of it was delivered to year 5s at the time. I've done it many times with year 5. I've also done it with sort of years 4 through to 6. And it's based on the shape and space objectives and actually fits that really well. So the intention is to do a teacher's introductory session on Friday the 7th at 3:45. And at that time, we'll go through the material and share all the resources and things like that, and answer any questions people have. And then we'll do 2 live lessons that you can attend with your class online. The first one is on the 12th at 9:30 and repeated on the 19th at 1:30. And then the second is on the 9th of June at 9:30, so straddling the holiday, and then repeated at 1:30 on the 16th. And for all of those, as I say, there will be live lessons through Teams or a live event, depending on how many people. And you'll be able to attend with your class, watch it on the board, be part of the lesson, share what you're doing as part of it, and hopefully it'll be a really exciting, fun thing to do. That material is available totally for free through a Creative Commons license. So it's not our material, but it is something that I think we were hoping to present and will really enjoy doing. And as I say, if you register for any of those, you'll be able to access the recordings and all the resources anyway. So let me just, I'll come back to that in a minute, what that looks like, because that's what I want to show you in a minute. The next thing is, if you are local to the Exeter area, then as of about a month ago, there's now a primary CAS group as well. And what we're doing with this is every couple of weeks on a Thursday at 3:45, having sort of 20 minutes where we talk about news and tips and all sorts of things that are going on and resources and share ideas. And then every week, every time we do this, it's the second half is themed around a guest speaker. So to get us up and running, it's been a lot of my voice just to get going, but I'm really pleased that the next session on the 20th is going to be with Barefoot Computing, and the session after that, after the holiday on the 15th of April, is with Code Club. So if you are local to this area at all, it'd be really good to get people along to that. And you can obviously from the CAS link find the Exeter primary group and register for those. Now, what I'm going to show you is the Scratch Maths idea. So I think I've just got a little bit of time now that I can talk through with you more about what this project is. Let's start off by having a good look. So I'm on the UCL website, and let me just play you their intro.
Scratch Maths is a big project funded by the Education Endowment Fund. It's really important, it's going to go for a long period of time, and it's trying to make links between programming and mathematics.
We are working with schools in different ways. We have a small group of schools where the teachers are really deeply committed to helping us to develop the curriculum. And we have a much larger group of schools where we actually try things out and do the actual research.
But for us, Scratch is a breath of fresh air because it allows us to approach the teaching of mathematics in a new, exciting and engaging way.
I like it that you can have algorithms and you use maths while on a computer.
I like when you've just made a complete script and it finally just works.
What we really like about Scratch is when you press that start button and you see your script come into action. It's like magic in front of your eyes, and I really enjoy that bit.
So how you work in the design process. A group of us who have had some experience, that includes teachers but academics, we worked together and we thought what would be the best materials that we could develop. What are the big ideas in computing? And then what are the crucial ideas in mathematics?
So what we've spent a lot of time doing is building a new mathematics curriculum that people can express themselves in Scratch rather than in algebraic notation.
Because it's a non-written form of maths, it kind of accesses all the children, so it allows, as a teacher, you to focus on children that maybe aren't so confident in writing and written maths.
Often when you're looking at angles and degrees, you're on paper and the children don't necessarily understand that that's a physical turn, and getting the children to act out actually doing it physically and turn themselves, it meant they were seeing those degrees in a different way.
Scratch Maths has been invaluable in my knowledge and understanding and confidence in teaching computing, because it's brought everything to do with teaching coding back to the basics and built it up.
I use the PowerPoints in each lesson. They're really straightforward and they do follow the teaching pattern that I want to follow.
The materials are really easy to understand. There's vocabulary, there's all the plans already made.
You get children who finish quickly. It's really good, you can move them on, and for children who are sort of struggling a bit, there's lots of visual and lots of unplugged activities as well, which really help.
It's not just about being able to debug or understanding the language of, say, Scratch Maths, but actually getting the children interested in maths so that we can raise standards in maths.
Already the project is fully embedded in our curriculum. It's also providing the tools to give the teachers the knowledge, skills and understanding to deliver the programme with confidence. This is a resource which will raise the confidence levels of your staff, of your pupils, indeed of the whole school.
Okay, so let me come out of that for a moment. And I'm just going to show you a little bit of what the project entails, because I think it's a really lovely project. As I say, it's a very developed series of units of work with planning and resources and the files to use in Scratch that go with it. And if you take nothing from today, but knowing that on the UCL website you can access this material for yourself, then I'm equally happy with that, because I think it's a great fun project. It's really well put together. And it covers several year groups. The year 5 material that it was intended for, we always felt was a really good fit for the match between the maths objectives and the level of coding and computing required to achieve it. Above that, they had some year 6 material that was more based around time and number, and that for our children also always seemed to have a slight disconnection between the levels of the two. But certainly for the shape unit, it was very well put together. So the start of this is around moving, turning and stamping, and we're working towards, in Scratch, creating those algorithms that allow you to make the whole process work on itself. But on the way towards that, you're gradually learning to do some of it manually, and then over time put it together into repeating patterns and algorithms that create it for you. So if you know Scratch, then you know it's a very Blockly type language. If you're already using it in school, then this builds on that really well. If you're not, then you can access it through the website or download the Scratch app, which certainly on a PC is in the store. But you can do it all in the browser either way. It's nice to do it on the local app if you can. And you can see here it gradually builds up in terms of what buttons you learn to use, and then gradually over time thinking about how can I trigger these actions based on a small script. And then over time, if I just said that this one playing, then it's going to gradually show us how to make these repetitive movements. And the whole project is based on that principle, which over time becomes more complex, and you start to look at reflection, rotation, translation, working with shape in this way, and different sprites and costumes to work on patterning and predicting patterns. So it's a really, really lovely project. Let me come out of that now. There we go. Coupled with always extension activity discussion material as well. So again, I'm going to come out of that and just go to one of the project pages. So here I am. Let me just go back to this page. On that page of the UCL website, down here is curriculum materials. And inside that area, you can see that there is a notion of what that module's around, the video that we're about to look at, and then everything you need for it. So you've got the PDF of the presentations, the actual teacher materials, you've got the Scratch files that you want to give your learners to use to start from, the PDFs of posters and printables, vocabulary sheets, all of that kind of thing, as well as the actual PowerPoint file you want to use to deliver it. And from a one-button download there, which is great. I'm doing a real advert for it now, aren't I? Let's just have a little look
in this session,
some of
we're
their
looking at
delivery.
Module 1 tiling patterns and the first investigation called moving, turning and stamping. I've opened up Scratch and the first project called One Tile Stamp. You'll notice there's a sprite in the middle of the screen, our tile. And on the right hand side, we've got a when green flag clicked, go to position 0, 0 and clear the screen. And also we've got one block called stamp. We're going to click that block and we'll notice that it flashes. And then I can actually pick up the sprite and move it to a new location. And I click stamp again. And I'm going to move it to another location. And click stamp again, and I've made a pattern. I want you to try to make some similar patterns by moving and stamping the sprite. Here's a as before, which I can pick up
jump around a
and
little
drag
bit to
around
give
the
you some
stage.
idea what's in here.
In this next activity, we're going to explore move, turn, and stamp. I've opened up the next project called One Tile Move. You notice it's similar to before. I've got my tile sprite on the stage, but I've also got some move blocks. I can click on each of these individually and actually see what happens. If I click move 40 steps, you'll notice this tile moves 40 steps forwards or up the screen. I'm actually going to click some of these together this time. So I'm going to get move, a turn, and a stamp. So the sprite is going to move 40 steps, turn 45 degrees and stamp. Let's click it and see what happens. So each time I click it, the sprite is moving 40 steps, turning 45 degrees and stamping. You might want to explore changing. So like before, we get a tile pattern that I can keep on clicking until I've been all the way around. So how many times did I click it? Well, we can check by counting the number of tiles. Or if I'm thinking mathematically, I could ask myself, well, I've turned 30 degrees each time, and I've turned one complete turn. So therefore, 12 lots of 30 go into 360, one complete turn. So I must have clicked this 12 times. And I can verify that by actually seeing, yes, indeed, there are 12 stamps. So rather than clicking it 12 times, I can actually click it once by using a control structure. I click on control, and I'm interested in the block called repeat. If I drag it out, move it closer to my scripts, you'll see that eventually it goes around them. But I don't want repeat 10, I actually want repeat 12. I'm going to click the green flag. I'm just going to see what this looks like. It doesn't quite finish because I know that there are 12 repeats that are needed. So let's change this to 12. Let's click the green flag, click my script, and yes, indeed. And I have a lovely repeating pattern. It might look like it's gone wrong here. It hasn't. It's because I can pick up the tile and move it out of the design. In this last activity of this session, we're going to look at something from Investigation 3, which we're going to create some circular rose patterns. I've opened up the project 1 rose patterns. Inside it, I just have 2 blocks, move 50 steps and stamp. I'm going to add 1 block to that, which is after it's moved forward 50 steps, stamped, it's going to move backwards 50 steps back to where it starts. So to do that, we can move negative 50 steps. Once we've moved back to the starting position, I want to turn, and we're going to turn by 30 degrees. So let's green flag to clear the screen, and let's click this and see what happens. So I click it once, the sprite moved forwards 50 steps, it's stamped, it moved back 50 steps, and now it's turned, ready to repeat. And let's click this and observe the pattern. So like before, we know that there are 12 stamps that have been created, or I can say there's 12 lots of 30 goes into 360 created called pattern. So let's clear the screen and click pattern. So in this case, because it's using the small yellow circle, because that was the last costume that was selected, we get a pattern that looks like this. If I was to switch this to hexagons, let's move it out the way. Let's click it. And then let's click pattern. You'll notice that I've got a hexagon pattern. That looks like. That looks quite nice. Or I could change it to hexagons with the small square inside, green flag, and see what that looks like. So we can explore now. We've got our pattern by changing the costumes, by inserting a pattern block, and with 1 click, we can create a lovely pattern.
Okay, there we go. So that's a bit of a whistle stop through. That is the first lesson of the project. And hopefully you can see straight away that it's very structured, very organized, a lot of support material. For the project that we're going to do, we'll be delivering it live ourselves rather than clicking play on the videos. But I do think having those video resources there as a teacher, if you yourself could benefit from that support or have colleagues where they may appreciate being able to hear the way someone else describes both the computing skills involved, but also the vocabulary of maths and how it's described in there. I think it's a really fantastic resource. So a big thanks to Sam for letting me chip into her session a little bit and talk about those things. But I think to be aware that they're going on, the best way to find out more at the moment is through Teach Computing at exeterms.ac.uk there. And that goes through straight away through to Sophie Brown, who's also on the call today, which is great, who will therefore be able to pick up any queries and also put you in contact with the right places to book any of these events. But I would really love to see some schools and classes as part of that project, because I think it'd be a lovely thing to do live. It's an amazing project, and I've really seen the value over the years of how it impacts both the computing and maths knowledge and love of those learners. Thank you, Sam. I'll stop sharing screen there. Well,
Great, thanks, Anthony. I don't know if we've still got a little bit of time, actually, if there's any questions.
We had one pop in on the chat, but Sophie very helpfully jumped straight on it. So yeah,
Excellent.
We'll give it a couple of minutes. If you did have any questions, feel free to unmute yourselves. You can just shout them out. That's absolutely fine. But yeah, we'll just give it a couple of minutes and see if you've got anything that you want to ask.
Actually, there was one other thing I was going to mention that I forgot, but there's an organisation called Tech Girls, TEC Girls, and I know they're really keen to work with primary schools. So I did say I'd briefly mention them. I might write it in the chat so you've got the link there. Doing some work with the Raspberry Pi Foundation. So yeah, it might be worth checking out as well. Great, looks like Scratch Maths is going down well.
That's good news. Yeah, oh, that's wonderful to hear. Look at that. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, I've dropped the link to that project on their website in the chat now.
Oh, there's a typo in what I've just shared, but you get the gist. The gist. Getting, oh no, I've done that right. Tech girls getting girls into computing. Anything else?
Sorry, my Zoom crashed there, so I dropped out.
Okay, I think we don't, doesn't look like we have any other questions, Shauna, so we can finish early if needs be.
Yeah, you can grab your afternoons back. Thank you all for joining us. I really hope you found it helpful. If you do have any questions, feel free to obviously drop Sam and Anthony an email, or Suzanne as well at CAS. She'll be able to point you in their direction too. Have a good afternoon, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Sam and Anthony.
Thank you.